Bang! We are back, boys and girls, for the last UFC event of the year. I'm kind of sad about that. I'm kind of sad that it's the last UFC event of the year. But you already know it's the last UFC event of the year. It means we have to go out with a bang. There's no other way. We're going to have to go out making tons of money on this card. Otherwise, the year was a fail. Not really. The year has still been amazing no matter what happens. But I'm very, very confident on this card. I've said it multiple times this week. I'm not saying it. I'm not pulling it out of my arse. I'm not saying it because I think it sounds good. I'm saying it because I believe that I believe it to be true, is that I am very confident on this card and I think I'm going to profit a lot of units, which means the lucrative team are also going to profit a lot of units. And in this video, I'm going to break down every single fight on the card. I'm going to give you my thoughts, my picks, my predictions, all of that type of jazz, as I always do. I've been consistent with these this year, kind of. Next year, maybe I'll be even more consistent. Maybe I'll do it at a specific time every week because I haven't been doing that this year, which I know drops the viewership down heavily because you don't really know when to expect it. I just randomly go live. But maybe next week we'll do it a little bit more consistently or next year at a specific time. But man, this is going to be a good card. Honestly, like it's one of the best cards of the year. From a viewing perspective, I'm excited for most of the fights. Like literally most of the fights I'm kind of excited for. But then from a betting perspective, man, I got so many bets on this card. Like literally, I got so many bets on this card. And I'm going to lock more in when full prop odds are released, when full lines are released market-wide. As I always say, I am not like the other fraudsters and the scammers in this industry, the sleazy slime balls that releases their picks when the lines are out for 10 minutes. They track lines on their tracked record that you would not be able to get if you tailed them. It was impossible for you to get these lines, but they track them on their tracked record. Now, if you're just tracking them for your own purposes, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you're just tracking your bets that you have, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a handicapper and people can pay you for your picks, then you're a scumbag if you're tracking lines that nobody else can get. And that's what 99% of the industry does. I've been saying it for over 5 years. When I first came into the industry, I said all of these motherfuckers are full of fakes, frauds. They're all fakes and frauds. And it's actually just getting worse and worse. So I will be waiting until prop odds are widely released to track any prop odds, as always, and to send them out to all my people and to bet them myself, because the limits are usually shit early on. But yeah, man, without further ado, we'll get straight into it. I'm going to start from the first fight of the night, Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. Good fight. But I think that Randy Brown has this one covered, man. I mean, Muslim Salikov is getting on now. He's still a good fighter. Like, if you give him a outside kickboxing fight at low tempo, he's going to win a lot of those fights. But if you Nicholas Dalby him, put the pressure on him, he's probably going to lose. If you can crack really, really hard Jing Liang, he's probably going to lose. And I was on Jing Liang in that spot. Andre Fialho, obviously, he's proven himself to be basically not UFC level. You know, he's been knocked out time and time again. I think he got knocked out 3 times in a row or 4 times in a row, and then he left the organization. So I don't rate that win too highly at all, to be honest. And then obviously before that, you know, he was having close fights with like Lizu and Trinaldo, but they were 2 years ago. And I really think in those last 2 years, I think he's definitely dropped off a bit of a cliff, to be honest. The guy's 39 years old now. 39 is very old. And I just believe that Randy Brown is going to have a good performance here. We can't really trust Randy Brown at massive chalk for the most part. The reason is because he lets himself down in many, many spots. You know, if we go and watch a lot of his fights, like even his last fight against Wellington Turman, who is another fighter who lets himself down in a lot of spots, he didn't look great in that fight, in my opinion. You know, he didn't look that great. The fight before that, Jack Della, you know, he got finished in a minute. It is what it is. I mean, you even go back to like the Chaos Williams fight. He got dropped there. He got hurt there. I bet on him via decision in that spot. It was a good bet. Big odds. But you know, he still got hurt in that fight, still got dropped in that fight. You go back and, man, even the Wally Alves fight back in the day, I remember that one. Like, he almost gets choked out in the first round and then he comes back round two. He's just not a guy that you trust at big chalk, in my opinion. And obviously, he's at big chalk here. I do think he gets the job done. I think this could be a inside the distance win for him, though. I really do. And the reason for that is because Muslim Salikov these days, I believe, is going to get himself finished by a lot of guys. He got himself finished by Jing Liang. And actually, that was the first knockout loss of his career, which was funny because I think I bet Jing Liang KO in that spot as well. But like, I just feel like the wheels are going to fall off at some point. I'm not betting Randy Brown inside the distance myself unless they give me really, really good odds. But I do think that's a possibility in this spot. So I feel like Randy Brown's got big upside to finish inside the distance and via decision. You know, it probably will just be like via decision because Randy Brown just loves winning decisions, man. But yeah, I don't know. Like, as you can see, I'm not passionate about this fight. Don't have much to say about it. But I am kind of passionate that Randy Brown wins the fight. But I'm not passionate at minus 250 to lay any type of money on him. So there's a difference between, like, I'm picking him to win the fight quite confidently. But, like, I don't think I'm going to bet Randy Brown at minus 250 or wherever he is. Maybe if the line comes in a little bit. But at the moment, guys, I ain't betting him. The next fight is Shamil Gaziev versus Martin Bodai. Let me bang this up. First of all, shout out to everybody who's in here. Like Mushroom says, smash the like button because you already know I never say that, but definitely smash the like button. My man Mushroom, he's a funny guy, bro. My man Mushroom always coming into the chat with the good comedic one-liners and stuff. It's good stuff. And I actually watched Clint's Die Hard MMA podcast with Liam Picks Fights. Yesterday, I watched that, and that was an entertaining podcast. You know, shout out to Liam, shout out to Clint. I enjoyed that. And Mushroom was in there with the comments of that, making me laugh, man. So shout out to Mushroom, always coming in with that good energy, making me laugh. Sean saying, end of the year with a bang. Glimbot's in here. Mala Lipsky is saying, hey, James, my sister will prove you wrong if you doubt her. And Sean's saying, is Ariana really your sister? Mala Lipsky. Apparently, we got Ariana Lipsky's sister in here. I've seen you in here before, Mala, so appreciate you for being here. I kind of believe that is Ariana Lipsky's sister, Sean, because, like, if you're gonna, it's a strange fighter to pretend to be someone's sister. You know, it's not like a superstar, like, oh, I was saying I'm McGregor's sister or something, or Khabib's sister. So I tend to believe Mala. But if that is your sister, good luck to her this week. I think you'll enjoy what I'm going to say about her fight. But that's not coming up for a while. That's a banger, though, man. Casey ONeal versus Ariana Lipsky is a great fight, man. I cannot wait for that fight. But I'll get into that in a couple of fights' time. So, yeah, man, shout out to everybody. I just wanted to do a quick shout out because I didn't do that today. Donald Link. A lot of people in here, man. We've got 65 live viewers already. And I just go off the whim. One thing I will say, boys. Can you let me know in the comments if you would prefer me to go at the same time on the same day every single week? I'm pretty confident you would, but I just like to know that because if it's an overwhelming yes, then maybe I'm going to try and buck my ideas up, change my organization next year and try and sort something out. The way I live my lifestyle, it's not going to be possible for me to do that every single week of the year. I do travel a lot. I fly a lot. Maybe I have a flight on that day. Maybe I'm at an Airbnb in another country in the middle of the Switzerland Alps or the middle of the Balinese jungle, which I've done podcasts from before, but the Wi-Fi may not be good. I may not be able to jump on at that time. The way I live my lifestyle, like I said in my last podcast, as you can see, I'm back in the office now. It's not really conducive to me doing the same thing on the same day every single week, but I can still probably do it most weeks. You know what I mean? So if that is a overwhelming yes, if you would like me to go on the same day, on the same time every single week, then let me know and I will try and fit that into my schedule a lot more than I have been this year. But yeah, like I was saying, we've got 66 live viewers and I just posted about this 20 minutes ago, man. So it really shows the support and I really appreciate everyone. Mala Lipsky, pleased to meet you. I'm going to be your brother-in-law. Good vibes. That's it, man. The community is good vibes. And the one thing I like about my chat, everyone's positive. Everyone's good vibes. You know, there's a lot of nerds out there acting like big boss mafioso types, but they just type on the internet. You know what I'm saying? And those guys don't come into my chat for the most time because we spread only good vibes here. You know what I'm saying? We ain't no negative nerds. So shout out to everyone, man. All right. So we'll get straight back to the fights. Shamil Gaziev versus Martin Badai. I'm going to bring my screen up, guys, so you can see what I'm saying here. And then after, I'll go on the, I'll address the comments about if I should go the same time every week. All right. Yeah, here you go. Here you go, guys. You can see. So Shamil Gaziev versus Martin Badai. This is a good fight. Obviously, we've got the 11-0 Gaziev. And Clint was saying on this podcast yesterday, you got an 11-0 fighter that's ending with an EV from Russia. I mean, I think he's representing Russia. He's from Bahrain. And the guy is an underdog. You very, very rarely get that. But there is some hype on Martin Badai a little bit, I guess. So, look, guys, my breakdown for this one is quite simple, to be honest. I just feel like at heavyweight, where both fighters can get finishes, but I actually think Gaziev's finishing upside is probably a little bit higher in this spot. Maybe he gasses out and gets tired. The guy hasn't gone to that many decisions, so it might be a case where Badai does have big finishing upside because if he gets out of round one, then he's going to gas out. But Badai doesn't have great finishing instincts, and he also doesn't have great gas tank either. You know, I bet on him against Jake Collier, and I was actually sweating because he gassed out the exact same as Jake Collier gassed out. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that. So I was like, Jesus Christ. But I did bet on him. I did cash on him there. But it's not a guarantee that if Gaziev gasses out, Badai takes him out. You know, maybe Martin gasses out as well. And I just believe that Gaziev has more of the finishing upside early because we see on this fight on the Contenders, he knocked that guy down. He cracked him with a big shot. What was that guy's name? Greg Valesco. And he's obviously got big power in his hands, right? He's athletic. He's got big power in his hands. And I just believe that Martin Badai, the way he fights, he's very plodding heavyweight. He walks forward. Sometimes he has like a high guard. He's got his hands out. I don't think it's conducive to avoiding a lot of shots on the feet. You know, I think he's the type of guy that is going to get caught with a lot of shots on the feet. And I don't think he's really going to change that. He has been caught with a lot of shots on the feet in the past. He got caught by Chris Barnett, of all people. He got caught by Lucas Bresky, which in a fight he should have lost. I know he's undefeated, but he should have really lost that fight. And then even Jake Collier was teeing off on that boy. But Jake Collier has no power on the feet, you know. The guy was a middleweight at the end of the day. So I've seen multiple times now in Martin Badai's career where he's been cracked on the feet. Now, yes, you could say that, you know, he's basically never lost a fight. I think he lost a fight early on in his career. Yeah, Juan Espino. And that I've never seen it, but I'm sure it was through grappling. You could say that, look, he's never been knocked out. He's never been, you know, finished. So he's got a good chin or maybe he recovers well or whatever. But it's heavyweight. He's been fighting complete bums. Is he fighting a bum here? We don't really know much about Gaziev. Yes, he's made some bad decisions. He's been put in some compromising positions on the mat. You know, I remember he was in that bad Kimura on the mat in one of his regional scene fights. So it definitely is possible that Badai gets on top here and just runs through him, just like he did against Parisian. He Kimura'd him, and I've seen Gaziev put in bad Kimura positions, but, you know, when I'm watching tape, but it's plus 155. The guy is undefeated. He don't know how to lose yet. He's from a decent camp. He's got big finishing upside. I think he's more athletic. I think he hits harder. I think he's more accurate, at least early. I think you have to take the plus money in this spot, guys. I don't think you can lay minus 160 on, or sorry, minus 200 range, you know, on Martin Badai. I just don't think you can do it. I like Gaziev a little bit as an underdog in this spot. It's Gaziev or pass, in my opinion. If you want to pass, then that's completely fine. If you want to bet on Gaziev, then that's completely fine. But I don't think you bet on Martin Badai in this spot. I really, really feel strongly about that. And of course, he can win the fight. We're not talking about who's going to win. We're talking about where you're going to lay your hard-earned money that you've worked for and that you've got in your bankroll and that you're trying to use compound interest to ultimately earn a lot of money. Right. And so we have to be careful with those spots. I am a very big proponent, as I always am. And look, here we go off speaking about some gambling rant, as I always do. I'm a big proponent of actually being quite bold and shelling out a lot more units than a lot of people would do. But that's because I have developed my style over 10 years and I'm very confident to do that, right? For the layman coming in and they've only been betting for a year or two and they're not following my picks, then I don't believe they should be laying out 20, 25 units a week. But I can afford to do that because I'm a professional. I've been betting for 10 years and betting has retired me and allowed me to live the life of my dreams. So I've developed a system on being quite aggressive. I don't recommend that for every single person ever betting, but if you're following me, then just follow my staking structure. It's been proven to be fine and win a lot of money. And I just feel like these are the type of spots that oftentimes you want to attack or you want to pass on. You don't want to be laying money on Martin Bedeyan. Taking that back to the start, coming full circle with it. If you're not following my picks, which I recommend everybody does here, of course, the money is very cheap that you pay me compared to the money you will literally earn. So go to lucrativemmaBetting.com, lucrativemmaBetting.com, and you can sign up for a package right now. But that's neither here or there. If you're not following me and you're just betting yourself, then throwing away units, or not throwing away because you might win, but betting on minus 200 heavyweights in this type of spot, it's not what you want to be doing. You want to be very careful with your units because you're new to the game. You might not have been betting that long, and you need to develop a deep understanding of MMA and gambling before you're betting on these type of spots. It's way better for you to target these underdogs or plus monies than betting minus 200s on fucking heavyweights, man. So a little bit of a rant there, guys, but I really did want to get that point across. All right, what else we got, guys? We're going on to the next fight now. All right, you know what? I'll just do this fight and then I'll address the comments. So Andre Fili versus Lucas Almeida. This is a good fight, man. So this is a banger. Honestly, this is a banger. Look, I reckon Andre Fili has the skills to win this fight easy, to be honest. It's quite funny because striking wise, he's better technically, in my opinion, but he could just get knocked the fuck out or hurt badly, you know? So striking wise, it's probably not a good idea for him to fight against Lucas Almeida, but I think he can wrestle him here. I definitely think he can get takedowns. I think he can get his grappling going. But is he going to do that? You know, he doesn't do that in a lot of his fights, guys. In a lot of his fights, the guy just stands and bangs. You know, I mean, he will shoot takedowns, but I remember going back to the Charles Jourdain fight and actually rewatched that again for this fight because I knew that he didn't shoot takedowns as much as I wanted because I actually bet on him in that spot. So then I went back and watched this fight because I was like, all right, let me see how bad it was against Charles Jourdain. How many takedowns did he shoot? Should he have shot more? Because I believe that he needs to shoot against Lucas Almeida to win the fight. Not that he needs, but that he should, right? So I went back and watched that fight. And again, I was as annoyed as I was watching it live with a bet on him. He had a clear path to victory with the takedowns there. And the guy made it be a split decision, a very, very close 29-28 decision, just because he didn't shoot takedowns. Now, he clearly won the fight, but that fight was so easy for him if he just got takedowns, man. But he just wanted to stand and bang for a lot of the fight. And I just feel like he's going to do that in this fight. And I feel like Lucas Almeida has way higher durability than him. He hits way harder, especially with his boxing. And Fili doesn't really have good striking defense. We've seen time and time again, he gets cracked, he gets dropped against Wood, he got dropped against Brito, he got finished. Let's have a look at his career. Because the guy gets finished and the guy gets dropped a lot. You know, he's quite tough, not necessarily finished, but the guy gets dropped a lot. But even in the Daniel Pineda fight, he was winging on Daniel Pineda, but he was still getting cracked, man. In the Charles Jourdain fight, he got cracked bad. Sadiq Youssef fight got cracked bad. Nathaniel Wood fight got cracked bad. I mean, like, every fight, guys, the guy's getting cracked, hurt, wobbled. He comes back and wins a lot of them. But like, you can't deny the guy's just getting hurt every fight. And then we go to Lucas Almeida. I remember his fight against Daniel Zellhuber in a Contender Series. That was a really, really good fight. The guy has a clear deficiency in the wrestling and the grappling, but he hits like a motherfucker. He's got very, very good durability. It's very hard to finish. Maybe on the mat, it's a lot easier, but on the feet, it's very hard to finish. So, yeah, again, I think this is a dog or pass spot. I don't think you can lay the money on Feely with the deficiencies he's shown on the feet, in his striking, defense, and in his chin time and time again. Even though it's a fight that he clearly has a easy path to victory, is he going to take it? Maybe get stuffed once and then cracked and then the whole fight changes. It's just not a type of fight that you want to be laying minus 200 Andre Feely on. I'm very, very confident in that. Like I say, I'm really confident this week, guys. You know, like, betting is one thing, but I'm really confident in my reads. I'm really confident in what the side is value-wise, whether they win or not. Because if I'm picking underdog, well, if I'm saying underdogs have value, doesn't mean they're going to win. You know, they're still underdogs. They may have value and still lose. We see time and time again where fighters have value and still lose. I mean, it's like almost every week that I bet on a fighter that has value but loses. So it's not all about the final result. It's actually about where the value is. And I'm confident that the value lies in Lucas Almeida, or just passing on the fight overall. I'm confident that you can't lay this price on Philly in this type of spot. So, yeah, you're going to hear that word from me a lot, guys, confident, because I am confident in this card. And I'm not saying it just to say it because it's the last card of the year and I'm trying to be hyperbole of whatever weird reason. I genuinely believe that I'm seeing this card very well. And I really think that Lucas Almeida is the value side in this spot, whether he wins or not, you know. What else we got here, guys? All right, so, man, it's popping in here, boys, tonight. All right, let's see. Someone saying that would be a lot better. And for anybody wondering, this was me asking, should I do a podcast on the same time, on the same day, every week? So that would be a lot better. SB saying, appreciate the show on a Tuesday. So man like SB Diving's going super specific. He's shooting his shot. He wants it on a Tuesday. Tuesday for you is Wednesday for me. Yes, sir. You should just do it for the pay-per-view cards. Same time, same week for the pay-per-view cards only, you're saying. Okay. I'd rather you go online once the props drop, but as long as you come on once a week. I'd rather get it done earlier, honestly. I'd rather get it done earlier, get it done out the way. I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week. And going earlier is better, gives a lot, because it gives you more time to digest the content, watch it, gives the content more time to grow, and it's just better overall, unfortunately. Of course, man, good content is always worth a watch. Yes, definitely same time, so I can plan around it. Okay, I miss some of these when they're spare at the moment. Yes, please. Hopefully GMT time friendly, please. Okay. If you're making money, it don't matter what time you're on. If you make money, they will come. Also, a baseball field in a cornfield. Okay. Yeah, whenever you have time. I have noticed, so it doesn't matter. All right. Yeah, okay. So kind of like a 50-50. Probably good to aim for a regular time slot for repeat viewers. Not the end of the world. Yeah, all right. All right, what we got? When we picking up the supercar? Boys, you know what? I already got my supercar, man. I already got it, boys. Yesterday, where are we going? Yesterday, I went and bought an Aston Martin Vantage. So I'm going to post a pic on that. I'll post a pic on Twitter later. And boys, like, I remember, yeah, back in the day, not even back in the day, man. I remember like 6 years ago when I bought my first car. I paid like $1,000 for it. Yeah, I went halves with my mate. $1,200. I think we paid $600 each. And within 6 days, it broke down. And we went back to the car dealership. We bought it from some dodgy ass car dealership in the back ass of nowhere. We had to get a train because we didn't have no car because our car broke down. And obviously, when we went there, we didn't have a car. So we had to get a train there, pick up this shitty car, impulse purchase. I didn't know anything about cars, whatever. We bought it. Within 6 days, it broke. So we had to get the train. So then I've called the guy up, right? Quick story. I called the guy up about the car. Like, listen, the car's broke, mate. Like, you need to sort this shit out. He was giving me some shit like, nah, like, you bought it now. You have to deal with it. He was giving me all of that shit, saying, oh, you could have broke it in the 6 days. I was saying, listen, bruv, you better sort this car out now, mate, or I'm going to come down to your place and it's going to be an issue. He was going back and forth on the phone, fucking about. I was like, listen, fuck this. I'm just going to go straight to his door. So we got a train back down there, me and my mate, back to this dodgy car dealership to see this fella. And his son was there, big son, burly there. Probably knew he was on our way. I didn't even tell him, I don't think. Turned up at his door. We got into an altercation with him. I was telling him, listen, you got to give me the money back, mate. If you don't give me the money back, there's going to be an issue. You've just fucking sold me a car that don't work. I can't take this. And then big arguments. I thought shit was about to go off. Me and my mate there shouting at the guy. The guy shouting. His big son's like, blah, 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 talking in Russian or wherever he was from. Some crazy Russian, Kazakhstan country or something. Eventually, you know, tempers calmed down a little bit. We managed to do a deal. I think he gave me like 80% of the money back or something. And he said, like, look, you could have broken it. I can't give you the whole money back. Like, I'm convinced that he robbed me. It is what it is. I got most of the money back. That was my first car ever, boys. And I just bought an Aston Martin Vantage, it's $200,000 car. So the story is, and by the way, I've had some shitty cars after that as well. But the moral of the story is, if you become proficient at something, like I've done with sports betting, nothing is impossible. You know, 6 years ago, I was having arguments with a guy over $1,000 car. Now I just spent $200,000 on a car. So, yeah, man, it's a great story. Hopefully that's inspiration for some people, because you can always make it if you put your mind to it. So, yeah, man, I'll post that up. I'll post up the Aston Martin Vantage at some point. All right, boys. Next fight, we got Tagir Ulanbekov versus Cody Duran. Let me zoom in on that. Yeah, Tagir Ulanbekov versus Cody Duran. What a fight. This is an absolute banger of a fight. Cody Duran is a motherfucker, man. Look, I've been betting on and against Cody Duran fights in a lot of fights, and I've been wrong every single time. Like, it's actually hilarious. Let's go back and look at his record. So I bet on Cody. This is so crazy. I bet on Cody Duran, yeah, against Chris Gutierrez at plus 200. Great bet, kind of. I don't know. Probably, I don't know. And it was a draw, all right? So, all right, whatever. It was a draw. Well done. Actually, I'm looking for his record. You know what? It ain't been that bad. I have won money on Cody Duran before. Anyway, Chris Gutierrez, I bet on him. He drew. I also bet on him against Jimmy Flick as an underdog again. How can it underdog against Jimmy Flick? Are you dumb? That's probably one of the best bets of my entire career. And he gets choked out in 3 minutes. Insane. They run this fight back again. He's minus 1,000. I bet on him at plus 130. Sharp as fuck. But it didn't cash, right? And then I bet on Muhammad Mokaev to win via submission or decision. And this was a massive bet. I think I put like 25K on this bet. I think I bet this for like $25,000. I got the bet slip somewhere. But yeah, that was a big bet for me. And obviously he won via submission. So shout out to him. He won me money there. And then I bet that doesn't go in a JP Byers fight. So, all right, he got my money back at that point, right? Me and Cody are cool now. At first, I fucked up, but obviously me and Cody are cool, right? After this point, he knocked out JP Byers, cashed the under. The under 2.5 was like minus 110 or something crazy like that as well, plus money. But then this is where it gets bad. So I bet on Charles Johnson, and obviously he lost that fight. That was a close fight, though. I went back and watched this fight this week. Sorry, I went back and watched this fight like last week or 2 weeks ago. I didn't watch it this week because Charles Johnson was fighting Rafael Estevam, who I had a massive bet on. And obviously Rafael won that fight. But that was a close fight, man. Charles Johnson was making him work. He just kept getting the back. And that's what happens in Charles Johnson fights. Every fight. That's why I bet on Rafael Estevam. And then Jake Hadley, I bet on Jake Hadley, and obviously I bet on Jake Hadley and Jake Hadley via submission. And Jake Hadley basically had him in a deep armbar. I thought he was about to tap out, and he didn't tap out, man. So I felt like my read on the fight wasn't terrible. I felt like my read on any of his fights hasn't been that bad. The Gutierrez read was decent because it was a draw. He took his back instantly. The Mokaev read was good because I won. Like my man, line mover now. I know that flying knee had you nervous. Yeah, super nervous, right? But I feel like decision and submission was probably the play in that spot, regardless of the flying knee. Mokaev just doesn't hurt anybody, right? It's the only person he's ever hurt. So I was happy with that. I felt like it was a good read. The Jimmy Flick fight, I think that was an amazing read. The JP Buys fight, I think that was an amazing read. Like, I genuinely think I'm reading these fights really well, although I lost 2 of them or drew 1, lost. And then the Charles Johnson fight, yeah, that was a bad read, definitely. And then Jake Hadley fight, I don't feel like that was a bad read, even at juice. Maybe it was a bad bet. I don't think the fight was a bad read, though, because, he had him in trouble many times. Even in the first fight, even in the first round, at the end of that round, he was in a dominant position. Maybe would have subbed him if he had 20 more seconds. But anyway, man, Cody Duran's a fucking dog. The guy's going to keep coming forward. He's a very, very good fighter. He's going to fight for your money. It's something you want in an underdog or just in a fighter in general. And he's an underdog here again. But Tagir Ulanbekov is also a very good fighter. I know Tagir Ulanbekov doesn't get a lot of love from the MMA scene. I know a lot of people on Tim Elliott there. I honestly don't think Tim Elliott at plus 200 was really a good bet there, which is kind of crazy because he won the fight. It's very rare you can call a plus 200 not a good bet. I'm not going to say it's a bad bet. I feel like the line was fairly accurate. Just because, just watching the fight, man, Tim Elliott's path is a split decision, right? Which is basically what it was, right? It's very, very, very close decision. I didn't think he got the decision. I thought I scored the fight for Ulanbekov, right? So Tim Elliott's path is a close decision where I feel like Ulanbekov can kind of just grapple him a little bit better than he did in that fight. Anyway, man, that's neither here or there. Outside of that, he's been kind of perfect. The Alan Nascimento fight, that's a good win. The Nate Menes fight, that's a decent win. I think Ulanbekov's Bruno Silva, that's a good win. I know Bruno Silva's, I think he moved down in weight class after that. But did he move down? No, it's flyweight. He couldn't have moved down. Why did I think that was a different weight class? That's mad, isn't it? Didn't he move weight class? Bruno Silva never moved. Oh, okay. So he was bantamweight and then he moved down. That's probably what I'm thinking. Or bantamweight for that fight. Yeah, okay. That's what's confusing me. I remember that Kali Taha fight. He got fucked up by Kali Taha in that fight. Anyway, I think Ulanbekov's a good fight. Look, guys, I don't have a big read on this fight. This is a good fight. Out of every fight on the card, this is probably the one that I have the least good read on, I guess. What's the over? Because I feel like it's just going to be a close fight, guys. That probably goes over. I don't think neither fighter has massive finishing upside. I will say though that Cody Duran, he definitely cracks hard. I do think he cracks hard. Let me look at the over because I don't think it's going to be a great price, but I'm almost sure it won't. But that's what I would lean to if anything. So what's the over saying, guys? My betting's not loading right now. Can someone tell me what the over's saying? I'm going to search it myself anyway. All right, we got that. Because you never know. Yeah, so the over's sitting at minus 235. It's absolutely horrific price. I would never pay that ever, ever, ever. Both fighters, have finishing upside in this fight, so I would never pay that. So, guys, I don't know what to say, man. This is one of the fights that I'm passing on overall. All right, pure pick prediction, because I know people love that shit. I'll go with Ulanbekov wins like a split or something. All right, Alonzo Menafield versus Dustin Jacoby. Another fight that I don't really care about. Dustin Jacoby's a big favorite. I feel like, he deserves to be a favorite. There's something inside of me which I feel like Alonzo's going to catch him on the feet and drop him. I don't know why I'm saying that. I know why, because Alonzo's very athletic. He's obviously got big power. He obviously can hurt people. But Jacoby should really tee off on him. He should kick him to the gut a million times. And outside of round one, Alonso should gas bad and Dustin should kind of just dance around him and do whatever he wants. I don't think Dustin will really finish Menefield, though. I mean, Dustin's not really a finisher. So I wonder what... Yeah, okay, so that over 2.5. So I don't know. It might be worth playing Dustin decision and then maybe Alonso inside the distance. You can probably get plus money on both, hedge it or something. I don't know. But yeah, man, that's a pass fight for me. Look, if Alonso KO or sub or inside the distance is massive, because he's a big underdog, it may be massive. You might get Alonso KO 700 or something. If it's KO 700, I don't necessarily hate it, but I mean, Dustin's fought big hitters before. He should be able to kind of just stay on the outside, stick and move, and not really get hit. There's just something that is inside of me that's telling me that this fight's too easy to predict and Dustin Jacoby points is just too easy. But sometimes when it's too easy, it is. It doesn't really mean anything. But I do feel like Alonso will have some athletic upside early, and he obviously could bonk. So that's it. Casey ONeal. So Trey's saying, don't you think Dustin can work at range easier? I mean, that's exactly what I said. So I don't really know what you mean. Casey ONeal versus Ariana Lipsky. Fight of the night. We've got down to it. This is the fight of the night. Shout out to Mala Lipsky. It's either Ariana Lipsky's real sister or somebody just imitating Ariana Lipsky's sister. But I'll go with the former. So yeah, this is the fight of the night. The fight of the night for the podcast anyway. I think this is a great fight, man. I really do. I think both girls bring it. I think both girls are exciting. And honestly, in women's MMA, we get a lot of fights that are not exciting because they don't have the power to hurt each other. So we don't see as many finishes in women's MMA. And women's MMA hasn't been around for as long as men's MMA. So the skill development isn't as high either. And the athleticism is nowhere near the same. So, when you mix all that into the pot, women's MMA fights are not usually as exciting as men's. But these two girls, they're always in bangers, man. They're always in bangers. We go back and look at Casey ONeal's career. I mean, the girl's just constantly putting on good fights, exciting fights. She's just constantly walking forward, trying to get her opponent down. And she goes to work from top position. She really does. I think pretty sure I bet her against Antonina Shevchenko. I bet her against Shayna Dobson. She's only like minus 150 in that fight, which is kind of crazy because Shayna Dobson's, I mean, Jesus Christ, Shayna Dobson's not it. You know what I mean? And then Ariane's fights, you know, she's in bangers too. She's got very good striking, very violent striking. Her nickname is the Queen of Violence, and we know why. Yeah, she's been in some decisions lately, but she's definitely been cracking her opponents. That against Priscilla Cachoeira, okay, that was an early knockout. But she stung Aldridge a lot of times. She stung Gatto a couple of times. It's funny that she hasn't got more finishes because, like, the way she throws. But like I said, it's the power, it's the weight class. These girls are at flyweight. They only weigh 125 pounds. You don't get that many finishes at 125 pounds, So that's the reason. But, if these girls weighed like 30 pounds more, I think Lipsky's her style, she'll be getting a lot of finishes because she's accurate. She throws straight punches down the middle, and she throws with a lot of volume, and she does catch her opponent's chin a lot. In this fight, it's funny because Ariana Lipsky's takedown defense has improved a lot, man. If you go back and watch the fight against Melissa Gatto, watch the fight against JJ Aldridge, watch the fight against Mandy Bone, like all of these fights, her takedown defense has improved dramatically from a earlier career when she's fighting like a striker in Antonina Shevchenko and Montana De La Rosa. So it's going to be interesting because Casey ONeal is going to sell out for the takedown. She better sell out for the takedown because if this is on the feet, she's going to get boxed up just like she did in her last fight against Jennifer Maia. Had to take a second there. And I bet on Jennifer Maia as a plus 150 underdog in that spot. Shout out to Jennifer Maia. Crazy overcorrection. Not even an overcorrection, just a crazy line. And so that's going to happen. The same thing's going to happen if she doesn't get a takedown. So really, guys, the fight's easy to break down. It's not a hard fight. If you think she's going to get a takedown, you probably smash Casey ONeal because she probably will smash from top position. If you don't think she's going to get a takedown, you probably bet on Lipsky. So it's quite an easy fight to break down. except for, is she going to get a takedown? Casey O'Neill was relentless. She ain't going to stop. She ain't going to stop on one takedown attempt. Although she didn't attempt a lot against Maya, but that was because of the footwork of Maya as well. And she was getting stung with massive shots. But most of the time, she's relentless. I tend to think in this fight, she'll be a little bit more relentless than that fight, especially coming off a loss, especially knowing that she needs to get the fight to the ground to win these fights. I think that loss would have kind of like woken her up a little bit. And yeah, Stefan's saying you think she's 100% after the injury. Exactly. Like probably not. So that's another thumbs down. And so I tend to think that, like, I don't know if she's going to get a takedown or not. It's very hard for me to sit here and say she's definitely going to get a takedown. She's definitely not going to get a takedown. From what we've seen on tape, there's two sides of the coin, you know. There's Ariana Lipsky's massively improved takedown defense, but then there's also, she hasn't really fought a tenacious wrestler like Casey O'Neill before, who maybe doesn't have good wrestling, but is just fucking tenacious and physical, which is very, very, it goes a long way in MMA, and especially women's MMA. So I can't come out here and say this is a massive, or I can't come out here and say this is an easy prediction in terms of if she's going to get the takedown or not. But in this type of spot, guys, I think the Lipskys decide easily because she's a big underdog, right? First of all, if she stuffs the takedowns, she's going to look like a big favorite. So just that alone, in my opinion, makes Lipsky decide. We know if Casey O'Neill gets a takedown, she'll look like a big favorite, but she already is a big favorite. So like, what edge are you really getting on the market there? You know, you ain't getting too much edge. Whereas Lipsky could look like a bigger favorite than Casey O'Neill's line is now if she defends the takedown. So I feel like the upside on Lipsky is way higher than the upside on Casey O'Neill. If you want to play Casey O'Neill, in my opinion, just play her inside the distance, man. If she gets the fight to the ground, from what we've seen historically, she's probably gonna stop her. So, yeah, man, I like Lipsky in this spot. I'm picking Ariana Lipsky outright. I ain't doing it for Algel Mala. I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing it pre-fight. I've already picked Lipsky, and I've already bet Lipsky, guys. So that's a free bet I'm giving out on a podcast right now. I already bet her 2 days ago. No, it might have been yesterday. But yeah, anyway, I've bet her already, right? It was over a day ago. I sent her out to all of my guys on the service. They can vouch for that right now. And I think she's a good spot this weekend, man. I really do. She's got good odds. And as I said, she's got a massive path to victory by stuffing the takedown. So she's going to piece her up on the feet. What else we got? Cody Garbrandt versus Brian Kelleher. This is a weird fight, guys. So, you know, it's funny because the last two fights, right? Cody Garbrandt, Brian Kelleher, and the Ariana Lipsky fight, pre-tape, and this is why tape is so important. Pre-tape, I thought that Casey O'Neill was going to be the side, and I thought that Cody Garbrandt was going to be the side. Now, after I watched tape, I come away thinking that Lipsky was going to be the side, and also Kelleher is the side. And the reason for that is Cody Garbrandt's last fight. You know, obviously, the fights before that are not great, right? The guy's getting dropped, wobbled, hurt in every single punch he ever takes. But he's fighting the top of the division. At the end of the day, Pedro Munoz at that time was like top 3, right? At the end of the day, Kai Kara France at that time was top 3 flyweight, right? Now, you know, all right, you can argue top 4, top 5, whatever, you know. But the thing is that in this fight, the reason why I kind of like Kelleher at the underdog odds, you can pass. I mean, if you don't want to lay Kelleher coming off 2 losses at his age, look, it's not a big deal. But seeing Cody Garbrandt's last fight actually give me more pause in this fight on betting on him, because I actually bet Cody Garbrandt to win via decision in his last fight. I think it was plus 750, which is absolutely insane, right? Plus 750 to win via decision. And when I watched that fight the first time, I was like, yeah, you know, not bad. He did all right. But when I watched it back this week, about 3 days ago, or 2 days ago, I watched it back and I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, he didn't look good in that fight, man. against Trevin Jones, Trevin Jones not a good fighter. Now, Trevin Jones went on one of the craziest win streaks in UFC history, genuinely, where he knocked out Timur Valiev after being knocked out himself. And then he also knocked out Mario Batista. Two high level fighters in the division. But if we replay those fights, Mario Batista is minus 600, accurately lined. Timur Valiev is minus 600, accurately lined. It just so happened that in those fights, Trevin Jones's true line was plus 500, but he still won both fights. That just shows you the variance in MMA. That just shows you how crazy the sport is. And that also shows you, and I'll go on a little rant here, that also shows you why you can't take one win or one loss or even multiple wins and multiple losses to your heart. I see way too many people getting over emotional on their wins and their losses. And this will forever be the thorn in any gambler's side. There's only two reasons that people don't make money from sports betting. And still, nobody, apart from 1%, less than 1%, make money from sports betting, right? Isn't that crazy that there's only two reasons why people don't make money from sports betting, but still nobody makes money from sports betting? And those two reasons are mindset and skill level. So some people just can't cap a fight. They just don't have the knowledge of gambling. They just can't understand odds. They can't bet on the, like, that's skill, right? But you can train that. I'm very confident that I could sit anybody in front of me for 12 weeks and train them the art of gambling on MMA. I'm very confident I can do that. As long as they're not stupid and they listen to me and they follow me blindly, I will train them on how to see the market, how to read a market, read a fight, and confidently bet on MMA fights, right? I can do that. But the other part is way harder, the mindset piece, right? And this is really why people don't win. Because it ain't that hard to cap a fight and pick the side. It ain't that hard. The mindset is the hardest, right? Not falling for hype, getting over emotional on wins and losses. I have a handicapping service where I help people make money betting on MMA, right? So people join my service all the time. And most people that join me stick with me. And I just think that's a testament to how high level our service is. I offer sports betting training courses on my website. I'm extremely accessible for someone who has over 25,000 followers on all social medias. I'm extremely accessible. I think people don't understand at times the amount of messages I get. I get thousands of DMs from people, and I still take the time as best as I can to answer people. Right? I don't think people understand how much of a job and how time consuming that is. And I'm not going to be able to do that forever. But I think the service that we provide is absolutely elite. You know, lucrativemmabetting.com is my website, and you can see what we provide on my website. You don't have to sign up. You can just see what we provide. And I think the service is very elite. But something that I still have very, very big trouble with, and it's never going to change. I'll always have trouble with this because people's mindset will never change, is drilling home a winning mindset, right? You have to have a winning mindset when you're gambling. And if you get over emotional over losses and wins, then you're not having a winning mindset. You're having a loser's mindset and an emotional mindset, right? It's very emotional, and emotions do not win in gambling. Emotions do not win in life in general for the most part when you have business to do. And gambling is a business. Sports betting is a business. If you want to make money, anything you're making money from is a business. And emotions do not do well in this game. But time and time again, people join my service. We go through one or two events where we lose. They get emotional. They shout. They message me. They DM me. They say, this is disgusting. I've lost money. They're very, very emotional. They're very volatile human beings. I understand why. I cannot relate, but I understand why. The reason is because losing money is an emotional thing. Money is heavily tied to emotions. The reason for that is because you need money to survive. Unless you're living in a jungle somewhere, like there's this island, I can't remember where it is. It's outside, just very close to India. And these people, there's a tribe on that island. It's actually, if I've watched a documentary on it, there's a tribe on the island, and they've had no human contact ever. And they're just living basically in the dark ages. They're all naked. They hunt with bow and arrows. They can't speak any language. They have their own language. It's kind of crazy. But unless you're one of them, then you need money to survive, right? So if you lose money, you're going to be very upset about that. Upset, angry, sad. Those are all emotions. But what people don't understand is those are the emotions that are causing them to lose long term, because you cannot stop losing short term. Everybody will. The best gamblers in the entire world will go through months and months and months of losing. Let me repeat that. The best gamblers in the entire world will go through multiple months of losing. And like, you can understand this intellectually right now, me telling you it. But once it starts happening to you, yeah, maybe you deal with it for a week or two, but then the emotions start flying. You just forget everything I say. You start questioning it. Oh no, like, I don't care. Yes, okay, I understand that you have to be unemotional, but it doesn't matter how you've lost so much money. This is bad. Like, people just, it doesn't matter how much you drill this point home. 99% of people are not going to get it. So after all, I'm drilling this point home is to say, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a winner or a loser? Are you betting on sports for fun, or are you betting on sports for money, or at least money and fun? Because I do it for fun as well. I could sit here and act like a fucking businessman and portray to you like I don't feel any emotions and I'm just sitting there in a suit and I'm only betting for money. At this point in my career, with the amount of units that I stake, with the $40,000 bet slips that I've posted online that you've seen, proof me betting on $40,000 bets. And that's not usual, but that's when I have a very strong read. But I'm betting $20,000, $30,000 every weekend for the most part, right? Yes, at this point in time, I'm betting mainly for money, but it's still entertaining for me. I still play bets strictly for fun. I put $100 down on Yedong Song to actually I put more than that, but like I'll put $100 down on someone to win via decision at plus 3,000 just because it makes the fight more fun. So I am betting for fun as well, right? But yeah, for the most part, I am betting, for money, but I'm betting for fun as well, man. So I'm not that different from most people. I'm not this fucking stone cold gambler who only bets for money. I am also betting for fun as well. It's entertainment. I like it. But man, what do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who just keeps spinning the wheel like a hamster and keeps losing money long term from gambling because they can't control their emotions? Or do you want to be someone who is a winner, but the only way to be a winner is to keep your emotions in check? And I know it's hard. I've been there. I've been doing it for years. And to be honest, the truth is that it's probably only going to come with experience and time. But education is a massive part to it. I didn't learn to control my emotions until 7, 8 years of gambling. You can probably do it in 1 to 2 years if you listen to me and other content like this telling you every day, control your emotions. It's still going to take you 2 years probably, but hopefully it won't take you 7 or 8 years like it took me. And hopefully you won't lose houses and you won't lose your wife and kids from gambling like I know people have done. I've been in the gambling industry, but I used to hang in the bookies all day. That's where I grew up in. I used to ask people that were older than me to go in the bookies if there was a new staff in the bookie that didn't know me, that didn't take my underage bets. I used to have to ask people on the street outside to go in the bookies and place bets for me. I've been in the bookies since a child. And I've seen what it's done to people. Gambling is very, very dangerous if in the wrong hands, but it's very powerful if in the right hands. So, yeah, man, it's a long, long rant, and those who are only here for the UFC content may be annoyed, but this is way more important than any UFC breakdown I'm ever going to give you, because this is a life breakdown about keeping your emotions in check in business, and also a gambling breakdown, which is important for anybody betting on sports. You have to know this because it can go downhill very quickly, and I'm very vocal when I speak about that. Right? I'm not trying to portray this lifestyle where gambling is all roses, because for a lot of people, it's not. And if you are someone that cannot control your emotions, my advice is to stop gambling. Whether you're on my service or not, I don't care. Cancel your subscription. I'll cancel it for you. I bet a lot of money a week. I'm not here for your $100 a month for 20 events in a month. I'm not here for that. If you can't control your emotions, more important is that you get those in check and stop gambling outright. So that's it, man. I know I went off on a tangent there, but I feel like it's something that needed to be said. Done. So back to the fight card, guys. Cody Garbrandt versus Brian Kelleher. I don't know exactly where I was before I went on that rant, but I think Brian Kelleher's the side here. When I went back and watched the Cody Garbrandt versus Trevin Jones fight, he didn't fight well. Yes, he won the fight, but he was hesitant in that fight. He actually got wobbled on the feet, and I think that you won't recognize it unless you have a keen eye for striking. It was 2 days ago, so it's a little bit blurry now. I mean, I watched millions of fights, but yeah, I mean, he got cracked on the feet a couple of times. I think his chin issues didn't show there, but I feel like if Brian catches him, they may show. And also, Cody Garbrandt got taken down a couple of times in that fight, which is not a good look. And Brian, he won't really, I mean, he will shoot takedowns a little bit, but he's good defensive takedown. Now, the thing I don't like about Brian is he's 37 years old. The guy's coming off 2 losses. Yes, I know the losses are not really, like Cody Garbrandt ain't going to take him down and choke him out, but, which is how he's lost recently, but still coming off 2 losses. He's had some injuries recently. I actually hate the circumstances surrounding Brian Kelleher, but at this point in time, Cody is not a minus 250 fighter, guys. He is not. So, yeah, man, I'll go on to the next fight because obviously this is dragging along now. We're only on fight 8. But, yeah, man, I definitely think Brian Kelleher has the side. Another dog or pass. You can pass, all good, but this is another dog or pass spot, man. And honestly, a lot of the card I'm seeing is just dog or pass spots all day, man. Another dog or pass spot, guys, is Irene Aldana versus Carol Rosa. Let me make another passionate speech. Do you want me to go into another 10-minute rant now? Not about gambling, but about why Carol Rosa should not be plus 180. This is ridiculous, man. Irene Aldana minus 230. Are you smoking some devil's lettuce, as the old boys call it? Like, this is mental to me. Yes, of course, Irene could finish. Of course. But give it a rest. I mean, Irene can still get taken down. I bet on Macy Chiasson in that Irene Aldana fight. And I was counting my money. I was like, plus 200. This was the bet of the century. Cash me out. Let's go. I was on a bit of an island there. Many figures in the MMA betting space that I know, and MMA betting Twitter was on Irene Aldana there. And obviously, they was all congratulating themselves after the win. And I was just thinking to myself, boys, like, you got a massive fluke win there. And I don't like to call things flukes because if you throw the shot, if you're good enough to land the shot, to set up the shot, then I don't want to take that away from you. If I'm in a fight, right, and like I'm getting beat the fuck up, right, but I'm still in there, I ain't getting knocked out. And then I step through, I throw a feint to the body, the guy drops his hand down, I come through with a big right hook over the top, and he gets knocked out. And someone starts calling that a fluke. I mean, shut the fuck up, man. What do you mean? I set the shot up, I knocked the motherfucker out, and now you're calling it a fluke. Get out of here. So I don't like to call fights flukes like that because, the shot is the shot. But what I can say instead of a fluke is that if you play that exact same fight out 100 times, it's very unlikely that that shot happens. It was an up kick from bottom. It wasn't even like a setup, to be honest. It wasn't even a setup. It wasn't even like, it's funny because I just said, like, I hate saying fluke shots, but that was from the ground. That was from the ground. It was an up kick to the stomach. I mean, if anything is a fluke shot, that is a fluke shot. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, man. Bas Rutten's take on Lucky Punch is the best one. I'd really want to see that because Bas Rutten is the man. The dang, the dang, the dang. If anyone knows what I just did, shout out to you, man, because you're a G. Yeah, hate people want to say fluke shot. Exactly, so do I do. It's a low frequency shot that you have to be skilled to actually land. Exactly, but I'll actually combat that and go back on myself and say that wasn't actually a skillful shot at all. because literally anyone can lay on their back and throw up kicks. Like, that's what toddlers do when they're angry. They throw up kicks, right? So somebody who can't speak, who has the brain the size of a pea, can throw an up kick. So it's kind of crazy. Like, that actually may be the one time where a fluke shot is actually warranted. You know, it's kind of crazy. I'm just thinking out loud right now. But anyway, man, I say all that to say this. She was getting her ass beat, or at least she was fucking looking she was looking plus 150 at minus 300 or something, minus 200. So I don't think she should have won that fight. And look, Carol Rosa can do the same, man. Carol Rosa can get a takedown. She can do what she wants from top. And on the feet, I think the fight's close. Yeah, Irene Aldana has good boxing, but Carol Rosa's not bad. Like, on the feet, I think Carol Rosa is the easy side here, guys. I ain't going to bore you any longer. He says what you said. No such thing. The intent was to win the fight, and they won. Yeah, exactly. Agree. Except for Irene Aldana versus Maisie Chiesa. Blunt Force saying flukes do exist, but people are salty and cool shit. Yeah, all the time, man. You can call it a meme. I think a meme is okay. You know, it just depends what you class as a meme, because, like, you know, depends what you class as. Because it's not, you can't look at a meme in the dictionary. It doesn't really make sense, right? We're talking about MMA betting memes. So it's funny because, like, I see people arguing a lot, and I'm pretty sure I've even not argued, but like gone back and forth a little bit before on Twitter, where people will say, oh, that was a meme. And then the other person will be like, that wasn't a meme. But it's like, a meme doesn't even exist in the English dictionary. Like, you're arguing over a word that doesn't exist, that's just made up on the internet. You don't even know the definition yourself. What is the definition of a meme? You could get 10 prominent MMA gamblers up against my wall here and ask them what a meme is, and they all have slightly different definitions. So it's funny when people argue over the word meme, but they don't even know the definition of a meme, because the word is not a real word and the definition hasn't been established. So it'll be similar, but it won't be exactly the same, right? So it's quite funny when people say memes and stuff and they argue about it. But I guess you can call things memes worse than flukes, because flukes are a bit disrespectful. A meme is a meme, like Anderson Brito submitting Pierce. That's a bit of a meme. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, the guy was getting dominated. He was getting worked. Like, it's a meme to me is kind of a Hail Mary. They're kind of the same things. Like, if you don't hit this one, you probably have 2 more shots at it, and you're not really going to get it, right? Same thing as like Anthony Pettis versus Wonderboy Thompson. You can call it a meme. You can't really call it a fluke. So yeah, meme is a real word. Okay, but what does it mean? Because meme. All right, meme is an offshoot of the word memetric. Okay, so let me type memetric and let's see what it says. Memetric meaning. Do you mean mimetic? Yeah, no, it's not a real word. Meme is not a real word in the context we're using it at. Of course, there's meme means something else completely different, but we're saying meme means a fluke. It's not a real word. So, you know, I mean, you should argue about the definitions of it. Anyway, done. In this fight, Josh Emmett versus, Blunt Force. Yeah, exactly. This is evolutionary biology. We're not talking about that. I'm sure it's a real word and has other meanings. Maybe there's 10 words that are called meme that have different meanings, but in this context, it's a made-up internet word. All right, Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell. Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell is a good fight. I think that Bryce Mitchell gets a takedown, and I think that Bryce Mitchell does work from top. So the thing about that is that he's a big favorite, right? So, like, do you really want to lay the price on him? But honestly, I kind of think you can lay the price on. I don't think this is a dog or pass. We got another decent size favorite. Like, all of the favorites are around minus 200 that we spoke of for the most part. So we got another decent size favorite, but I don't think that this one is that wide. You know, I don't think that this one is a bad line. Boys, I've basically told you that every fight, it's dog or pass for the most part, right? But I actually don't think this fight is dog or pass because Josh Emmett, in my opinion, is past it, right? I think Josh Emmett is kind of done at this point. And I don't want to say that Josh Emmett is done because of his last two losses, because he lost to Ilia Topuria and Yair Rodriguez, two very dangerous guys in the division, probably the two most dangerous guys in the division. And by the way, he lasted to decision against Ilia Topuria, which is kind of crazy. But I will say that from what I've seen of him, Josh Emmett is definitely slowing down. I don't think he's as fast as he was. I mean, I don't have an in-depth breakdown for this one, guys. I watched tape on this one, of course, as I always do. And when I watched tape, I saw that basically Josh Emmett gets taken down quite a lot. And I didn't think that because I thought that Josh Emmett was this good wrestler. But when you go back and watch tape, he gets wrestled like whenever anyone really tries, whenever anyone tries that's good at wrestling or decent at wrestling or has any upside in wrestling at all, they kind of get him down. And he gives his back. I don't really like his defensive jiu-jitsu. I just think Bryce is way too tenacious, man. Bryce is going to shoot 10 takedowns in this fight. And even on the feet, I think Bryce can stay out. Like, Bryce kind of fucked up Edson Barbosa on the feet. I think Bryce can kind of do his bouncing, stay in and out, and land on Emmett on the feet, honestly. Yeah, of course, Josh Emmett can land a knockout. But outside of that, man, I think Bryce is young in the career, man. Bryce is 29. I still think Bryce can make a little bit of a run. I know Ilya finished him, but I still think Bryce can have a few wins on his record. I faded Bryce in his last fight against Dan Ige, and I think that was a good bet on Dan Ige. But I don't think this is a spot to fade him, man. I think Ige's the spot. Ige, yeah, he can get taken down, but he does actually have decent takedown defense. He's way more athletic, in my opinion. He's a way better scrambler, way more athletic. Like Josh Emmett, these guys look stiff, bruv. Whereas Ige's like bouncing in and out of range and stuff, and way more dynamic on the feet as well. I think Fug Nasty's going to do his work here, to be honest. And we got 155 live viewers in for this, so shout out to everybody. I appreciate everyone being here. We got a lot of comments, man. We got some inside information here from Ariana Lipsky's sister, Mala, saying Ariana is improving so much in training. I can tell you she has been training with Amanda Nunes and Poliana Viana. That's cool, man. Hopefully we see it in this fight. I mean, I feel like we've seen it in the last two fights, honestly. What else we got? Dominic saying, my service is a great service. Yeah, appreciate that, bro. Sean saying, much appreciated in the DMs. You're the best. I try my best, bro. If I don't reply to a DM, to you or anyone for that matter, at some point, please don't get angry with me. It's kind of funny because sometimes I don't reply to a DM and some people message me, thanks for not replying. And like, wow, man, you're ignorant. You don't reply. I'm like, Jesus, man, you are so far gone. Your brain is so far gone. Like, you just do not understand the way the world works. And it is what it is. If you're salty when you shouldn't be surprised when you win. And if you're salty when you lose, you're betting too much. Yeah, North Sentinel Island. That's the island I was thinking about. Thank you, bro. Dominic's saying the service is best for people who can have starter units as $100 and not be affected with the variant sometimes. All good for me. Someday would be good, but I'm probably too busy to catch live streams anyway. Good to know. Look for lucrative video. Thanks, brother. Yeah, so we have a few things here. Fubu's saying the best lesson you gave me was to keep emotions in check. And the easiest way to do that for me was pass on my favorite fighters until I could keep them unbiased. Yes, very, very good idea. Yeah, because that's what catches a lot of people as well, right? The emotions don't only lead into you being volatile, but they also lead into you making bad decisions, gambling, like betting on your favorite fighters or like chasing your money. 100% Carol Rose, we've got dog. Yeah, okay, so we've gone over. Emmett has overachieved, watching at work. This podcast is going to make you more money than your work anyway, man. So all good. Lipsky beats ONeal. Let's go, man. I believe so as well. Bryce Mitchell's been training with the Lord Jesus Christ and Jesus has been helping him with his chin. If that's the case, he's got this one in the bag. All right, Vicente Luque versus Ian Machado Gary. We're on to the main card now, boys. Main card time. Let's go. Good card. Good main card. Good fight. First fight of the main card, I believe. And I think Ian Gary's the rightful favorite. I think he's going to do his thing. I don't see Luque beating him. I know Luque always has the chance to crack him with that left hook, but I've seen time and time again Luque struggle with these type of fighters. And I will say that Ian Gary, at this point in his career, I think his eyes and his vision is so much better. I think he's going to see way more. Like, I think he's honestly going to be able to see everything coming from Vicente Luque. And I don't think Vicente Luque is going to be able to see everything coming from Ian Gary. I just don't think he's going to do it. Like, I mean, it's a striking fight. Like, what type of breakdown do you want? It's a striking fight, and Ian Gary's just getting better and better. Ian Gary's going to have a height advantage, but apparently not a reach advantage in this one, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, man, like, I don't have too much to say about this one. I think Ian Gary's going to continue the run. I will say though that Ian Gary doesn't, he's been having some problems outside the octagon this month and stuff, and sometimes that can come back to bite you. I know that he's been making videos. I know he's been a bit vocal about it. So he's jumping from gym to gym. I know he got kicked out of Leon's gym recently. So there's definitely a few dodgy things happening in Ian Gary's life. But overall, I think he's going to win the fight. I don't really feel like Luque has much of a chance. I mean, I guess he could knock him out, but I don't know, man. Easy fight for me to call. Ian Gary's going to win. I think, I honestly think Ian could get caught on the chin. Like, I do think it's going to happen. I mean, I do think it could happen. Like, Luque's still a very dangerous fighter, but I don't know, man. Ian Gary's just much better striker at this point, in my opinion. What else we got? UFC wants to build Ian. Yeah. If this was Luque 3 years ago, I'd be backing him all day. Luque can't fight southpaws. Yep, exactly. He has trouble with southpaw as well. People picking Luque just wants Ian Gary to lose. Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like, he's a big underdog, right? But I don't know. Is that really Lipsky's sister? I think so, bro. Dapper TV saying, am I serious? You shouldn't pay $100 a month. You should go to We Want Picks. You get a lot more, and it's only £10 per month. Lucrative fam, how you doing, people like that? No wonder you bet big. You rip people off, bro. What the fuck? So what you have to understand, and I actually know them guys, so I've seen them, right? So I don't really want to speak too negatively on them because someone is coming into my chat speaking negative. So I don't want that negativity for me to put negativity on other people. The only thing I'll say is that when you go to a gym, do you want to learn from the skinniest person in the gym or the most jacked person in the gym? Do you want to learn from someone who's been gymming for 15 years or 1 year, right? So there's a big difference between my service and almost everybody other service out there. Also, let's go and compare the tracked records, right? Compare people's tracked records to mine. And I ain't talking about a spreadsheet. I ain't talking about a fake record. I'm talking about tracked record, right? Uncomparable. Uncomparable. Also, add in all of the other content you get, all of the other regional scene shows, not just UFC, PFL, Bellator, all other regional scene. I can go on and on. My service is very, very cheap for the amount of content I provide, the amount of time and effort that goes into the picks. The record we have, the price should actually be more, right? So you want to be signing up to a premium service, not a cheap service, right? There's a reason why there's a difference in prices in life. You get what you pay for. I'll let the people make their decision on that. I don't want to throw any shade to the specific people you mentioned. I would just say that we are not the same. On to the next. And yeah, I mean, everyone agreeing here. Of course, of course. Ridiculous comment. Joins this man's service and thank him later. It's literally free. Numbers don't lie. James is one of the best. Yeah. Thank you, my man. Imagine thinking that a guy with 450 units of track profit is a scammer. Yeah. Do we want picks even third-party tracked? I've never looked into them. I like their podcast. Yeah. Pelin AI picks. Yeah. Look, see, I don't like. Thank you, everyone, for saying that. I appreciate that. I mean, the facts are the facts, right? So we have to speak facts. If someone comes into the chat talking complete shit, I have to speak facts, and I appreciate people in the comments also speaking facts. I don't want to throw any shade to anybody. I'm not here to do that. The guy has brought this guy's name up. I got love and respect for everybody out there. I don't know these guys. I literally don't know them at all. I've heard of them. I've seen the YouTube channel. I've never watched a video. I've heard some things about them. I'm not going to mention what they are, but I don't really care. I don't focus on other people. I just will defend myself and say that, in my opinion, my service is 100 times basically any service out there. And I know that for a fact. I'm very confident that my service is by far the best in many, many different ways. So, yeah. The next we have, and bro, you don't have to sign up, man. You can just listen to the free podcast like you're doing right now. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you giving me another extra view for the algorithm. Hopefully it helps grow the channel. And the next fight, wait, I ain't skipping a Tony Ferguson fight. Tony Ferguson versus Paddy. Maybe I should skip this fight because it's a bit of a shit show. I mean, it's so funny. Like, they ain't even being coy about it. The UFC are not even being coy about it anymore, man. They are trying to build up Paddy Pimblett big time. Like, how are they matching Tony Ferguson up with Paddy Pimblett? This is such a setup spot. Like, sometimes, you know, we know it's a setup spot. Like, Ilia Topuria gets a main event against, like, Josh Emmett, who's kind of on a downside. Yeah, that's a setup spot, but it's not so in your face, you know? It's like, Josh Emmett, he's only on a one fight loss streak. You know, before that, he was kind of the boogeyman in the division. It's not an obvious setup, you know. There's an argument to be made for Josh Emmett. Bro, this is just like in your face. Like, this is when they set up Yair Rodriguez with BJ Penn. This is literally that level. I haven't seen a bigger setup fight than this probably ever. Probably since Yair Rodriguez versus BJ Penn. Like, this is crazy, bro. They obviously want, when people say this is who the UFC wants to win, this is who the UFC wants to win. Tony Ferguson is Tony Ferguson at this point. I mean, the guy's on a massive, massive down trajectory. I would pick most fighters against Tony Ferguson at this point. This guy is completely washed. He shouldn't be fighting in the MMA, and Paddy's going to run through him, man. Paddy is going to run through Tony Ferguson. Like, I see people out here saying, like, you know, wow, Paddy minus 300 is ridiculous. Brother, Paddy should be minus 700 here. Paddy is coming up to 9 out of 10 in this spot, man. Like, Tony Ferguson is done, boys. Like, the guy is done. And like Fubu says, the UFC want Paddy to win so much, they buy his decision. Exactly. Like, even if the fight goes to decision, Paddy's going to win just by fucking being Paddy Pimblett. And rest in peace, my Jared Gordon ticket. We already know how that plays out, right? So let's say Tony Ferguson keeps it close and competitive, which he ain't going to do. He's still going to lose a decision. But by the way, guys, this fight ain't going to decision. Paddy Pimblett is going to run through Tony Ferguson. And maybe I'm putting my balls on the line. And I know it sounds funny I'm putting my balls on the line or against Tony Ferguson. No, because, guys, if you pick a minus 300 and you say it super confidently like this and it loses, you're a laughing stock. I'll be the laughing stock for the next 7 days until we get another fight, you know? Or maybe 3 weeks because UFC ain't back. But I don't care. I mean, in my opinion, it ain't putting my balls on the line, really, because it ain't a risk, because I'm very confident Paddy's going to slice through Tony Ferguson. I think Paddy's going to probably submit him. Yeah, I don't... I mean, maybe he could knock him out, but I think submission's a bit more likely. He's been submitted multiple times now. He's never really been knocked out. Yeah, Gaethje knocked him out, but not really. So, yeah, I think Paddy's going to knock him out. I think Paddy's going to submit him. Done. I ain't going to spend too much time on that one. Tony can't compete on the mat, bro. Tony will get ran through on the mat. Why can Tony compete on the mat? Everyone thinks Tony's this great jiu-jitsu guy. Tony just got submitted by Bobby Green. Bobby Green don't submit guys. Just got submitted by Bobby Green. Dariush controlled him for the whole fight. Charles Oliveira controlled him for the whole fight. Put him in an armbar. Like, Tony ain't competing on the mat, bro. Yes, maybe he can, like, get a weird takedown or reverse one position because Paddy is a bit sloppy on the mat. I will say that, you know. Jordan Levitt took him down and controlled him for a whole round. Paddy is a bit sloppy. Tony Ferguson can do one thing in the fight on the mat, but he's going to get submitted, bro. Like, he's going to get submitted. Like, if Tony takes him down, he's going to get reversed, swept, and rear naked choke. Like, yeah, man, it's done. Yeah, Chandler KO'd him. Sorry. I bet on Chandler as well in that spot. I like minus 400 because I knew he was done, right? I knew he was done. And he got booted in the face. And, you know, people can say, oh, you know, Tony looked good in the first round. Brother, like, oh, right. He had like a couple of minutes. I think he had one jab where the jab like dropped Chandler to a knee, but Chandler was fine. It's like a flash jab thing. Chandler's chin's dust though, but yeah, it was like a little jab thing. And then Chandler took him down instantly, won round one and knocked him out brutally in round two. It's funny the takes on that Chandler fight. Like, come on, man. Like, he got fucking smoked. He's lost 7 fights in a row. Like, the guy's done, mate. Chandler would have beaten him fucking 10 times out of 10 in that fight. And Paddy's going to beat him 9 times out of 10 here too. What else we got? Yeah. All right, guys. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Stephen Thompson. I think Shavkat's going to run through him. Shavkat's finished every single fight he's ever fought. I don't really think it's going to stop here. Stephen Thompson's going to get finished inside the distance for the first time in a long, long time. Stephen, he's a good fighter, man. I really like Stephen. But I do think Shavkat's going to be able to take him down and finish him. And even if not, I think Shavkat can hurt him on the feet, man. I think Shavkat can put him up against the cage. I think Shavkat can get him in a clinch. And I think Shavkat can land those hellacious clinch strikes he was landed to Jeff Neal. And I don't think Stephen Thompson's going to take him well. I think he's going to be cut up. I think he's going to get tired. I think Shavkat's pressure is going to get to him. I think the fight's going to be messy, sloppy in the fact that Stephen Thompson can't keep him off him. And eventually he's going to get taken down and Shavkat's going to run through him. Or honestly, just brutalize him on the feet and like doctor stoppage or something like that. I can actually see that. Overall, I'm gonna say Shavkat gets a finish on the mat, whether by TKO or inside or submission. I'm not super confident on. Bilal Muhammad almost TKO'd Stephen Thompson twice on the ground, so I could definitely see that as a possibility. The guy's getting finished, man. I like Shavkat a lot in this spot. I think he's gonna roll. Shavkat is one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen. Actually, I'm a full believer in Shavkat Rakhmonov. Before the Carlston Harris fight, I wasn't, which is fine. But I've seen enough to know that Shavkat Rakhmonov is fucking... I mean, I bet on Shavkat Rakhmonov against Jeff Neal to win him round 3 at plus 1,000. And, you know, he did the business there. I think he goes through Stephen Thompson like butter at some point. Alejandro Pantoja versus Brandon Royval 2. Great fight, guys. Very excited for this fight. I want to shout out to the 155 live viewers in here. Fubu, my man, was saying earlier that we got 155 live viewers, but only 55 likes. So that means there's 100 people right now that are watching right now. They didn't click off, that didn't click the like button. Boys, all you need to do is scroll down like me and then click. It's not hard, boys. Come on, give me a like. Give your boy a like. I've been going for 1 hour and 24 minutes now. Surely I can get a like. What else we got? All right, so these guys fought before, and Royval was having decent success. Royval was breaking him, in my opinion. This is not a hot take. I think everybody's been saying this and will be saying this week. Alejandro Pantoja looked like he was breaking. There's a lot of sides to this fight, honestly. So for the first... for the first part, well, the first side of the coin is that Alejandro Pantoja looked like he was being broken by Royval, but then he got the submission, right? And then On the other hand, was he really being broken, or does he just look like that in every fight and push through fatigue? Because then if we look at the Brandon Moreno fight, and I actually bet on Pantoja at like plus 200 in that spot, plus 180. Shout out to Pantoja because he did the business for me. He looked gassed as well after round one. And guess what? He won a 5-round decision against one of the biggest pace fighters that flyweight has ever seen. So there we go, boys. Like, it's tough, isn't it? Because you can say that Brandon Royval was breaking him, but maybe he just looks like that in every fight and he can still go 5 rounds. Maybe he would have went 5 rounds with Royval. That is a possibility. But then I'm going to actually flip it back to you guys. I don't think that is true. I think he was breaking. I think that the Moreno fight he pushed through, I don't think he would have pushed through the Royval fight. That is my personal opinion. I'm saying that if you have the opposite opinion, I ain't going to argue with you. I'd be very interested to speak about it from a humanistic conversation perspective. I love speaking. I love having conversations. I love talking MMA. So I would love to go back and forth about your opposite opinion of mine. And I fully understand that opinion and I respect that opinion. I'm not the type of guy that if I have one opinion, I just completely shout out the other side. That's a stupid way of living, right? And that seems like that's how the world is going these days. But me personally, I do think that in the Moreno fight, he didn't break, but I do think he would have broken the Royval fight. And the reason I think that is because Royval, in my opinion, I said Brandon Moreno was one of the highest pace fighters in flyweight. But guess who's a higher pace fighter? Brandon Royval. I think Brandon Royval is the highest pace fighter I've ever seen at flyweight, in my opinion. Yeah, he is. I've never seen a higher pace fighter than Brandon Royval. And I guess you can throw in some grapplers there. Like Benavidez was a very good pace grappler at one point in time. Obviously, Demetrius Johnson, that guy's just nonstop. But Royval is more of the striking, so I will say that, than the wrestling. So there's an argument for that. But I guess on the feet, just the pressure and pace that he puts, I think Royval is the one that, is just stands out at the moment for me to be the highest pace fighter at flyweight. At least now. Maybe there's some fighters that have retired, but at least now, right? So I don't think Brandon Moreno is on that level. And I think in that fight, Brandon Moreno did a few things that cost him the fight. I do feel like that was a very winnable fight for Brandon Moreno. This is coming from somebody who had a ticket on Alejandro Pantoja. People bet Moreno in that spot. I wasn't one of them. I bet Pantoja. And I'm sitting here in front of you now telling you that after that Pantoja fight, I do believe that that was a winnable fight for Moreno if he did a few things a little bit more. And that would just be pushing the pace a little bit more. Go to the body a little bit more. There was a few things that he didn't really do. So I feel like Royval will do those things. And from what I've seen in the first fight, Royval has a good chance of winning this fight, guys. I really believe that. I'm actually picking Brandon Royval outright. I'm picking Brandon Royval to win this fight. And it might be crazy. Pantoja's a fucking animal. And I love Pantoja. I really, really think he's an animal. But I just don't think Pantoja's going to be able to keep up with him. Look, he can definitely submit him. He can 100% submit him. He submitted him once before. Pantoja gets the back in like every fight, multiple times. I mean, guys, like Pantoja is an absolute beast. But from watching the first fight, I have to go. I have to go with Royval here. I have to go, man. So that's it. I know there's going to be a lot of back and forth about this one. I know there's a lot of people already commenting on the fight. I feel like this is going to be the fight of the night for MMA Twitter and MMA YouTube. I feel like this is the, people going to be arguing back and forth about it. I just feel like we ain't getting that much juice on like Pantoja. Like, I mean, to lay Pantoja minus 180, minus 190, you got to think he wins the fight 7 out of 10. And that's fine. But even then, you ain't getting like massive, I guess if if you think he's winning 7 out of 10, then, you are getting some edge, but it's not a massive edge, right? It's not like, and just the way I look at the sport and the way I bet on the sport, and during all my analysis and my data I've done on the sport and my betting specifically, I don't think you're getting that much juice on Pantoja's line. He might win. I just don't think there's much meat on the bone. Whereas I think Royval could look like a big favorite if he doesn't get submitted. So, yeah, man. It's a great fight, boys. It's really a great fight. I respect Pantoja bets because I understand the logic, and I really, really, really respect Pantoja. As I said, I bet on him against Brandon Moreno. I really like the guy. So I'm not going to like there's certain fights. To be honest, there's a lot of fights, guys, that I'm going to argue with someone and call them an idiot. I mean, I don't like to say that, but like there is a lot of fights that I'd call people idiots for betting the other side. Like what was the one I said? Yeah, Carol Rosa, Irene Aldana. If you're betting on Irene Aldana, I'm sorry, I'm going to call you an idiot. I'm going to stand in front of the camera and say you're dumb. There's a lot like Martin Bade. Like, how can you lay that price on him? I just don't understand it. Andre Fili, I don't understand it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this podcast who have bet on those three guys. Like, I'm sure there's three fighters I've just said. And everyone's, a better here. So I understand, this. I understand the Pantoja bets, I'll say. I'm not going to call you an idiot for that. Like, he could definitely get the back multiple times and win a decision, or he could get the back and just submit him. I mean, the thing I will say as well is that the moment Pantoja got the back, he submitted him like straight away. And that's not a great look, in my opinion, because it could just be one back take and he submits him here. So, yeah. I definitely could see like a quick submission here, like we saw in the last fight. But yeah, I do believe that Brandon Royval's pace is going to, and something that's meant to be said as well. It's very hard to keep a belt, guys. It's very, very hard to keep a belt. And I think this isn't mentioned enough in breakdowns of title fights. This is very important, guys. I don't often look at like the outside of the octagon stuff, like Ian Gary's going through not a divorce, but going through some shit with his wife and the media and stuff, right? I don't look at that stuff that often. But something I do look at, which is outside of the octagon, quote unquote, is fighters that have already won the belt. Like it's a lot easier to win a belt than it is to keep a belt. That's a known fact, right? And fighters that have already won a belt, they lose it soon after, quite often. It's very regular. Look at the history of the flyweight belt. Should we do it right now? Let's do it together, right? So Pantoja just won the belt from Brandon Moreno, right? That was Brandon Moreno's first title defense. Second? Yeah, that was Brandon Moreno's first title defense. He won the title from Figueiredo, right? This was an interim flyweight championship, right? So he won the belt here, but it wasn't title defense. The next fight was it wasn't a defense because he only won the interim, right? So Brandon Moreno's first title, all right, let's just go back to the start. So Brandon Moreno first won the title off Deiveson Figueiredo, right? And in his next fight, he lost the title. So he didn't defend the belt. And then he fought Kai Kara France for the interim. Then he fought Deiveson Figueiredo for the championship. And then he won the belt. So at this point, he's only defended it once. Sorry, at this point, he has never defended it. And then he tries to defend it against Pantoja and he loses it. All right? Let's go back and watch Deiveson Figueiredo's run to the belt. So he won the belt off Joseph Benavidez. But he didn't win here because he missed weight, right? So he actually won the belt here off Joseph Benavidez, right? Then he defended it against Alex Perez. And then the next fight, he didn't he defended it, but it was a draw. You can't call that that's not really a defense. That's just a draw, right? He still kept the belt. So it's not really a defense. The next fight, he lost it. So he only defended the title once. Let's go back and see Joseph Benavidez. And this was a vacant title as well, right? No, I think he had the belt. Did he ever win? No, I don't think he ever won the belt. Yeah, so he lost against Sergio Pettis. Okay, so actually Figueiredo was for the vacant title. So I think that was after Henry vacated it, right? But even when boys, let's go. I know I'm going on a tangent here, but what I'm trying to show you is that fucking hell is hard to defend the belt, man. Especially at flyweight. I'm just interested. That's why I'm doing this now as well. I actually want to know. So Henry Cejudo, right? He never defended the belt. He won the belt off Demetrius Johnson, and then he went straight up. Oh, no, he did defend it, all right? He defended it against TJ Dillashaw, who was coming down. Okay, he defended it once, and then he never defended it again. He won the bantamweight title, and he defended the bantamweight title, right? But Henry Cejudo's won the best ever, right? So he won it off Demetrius Johnson. And then obviously Demetrius Johnson defended it like fucking so many times, right? Anyway, guys, what I'm trying to say is that it's very hard to defend the belt. And there's many reasons for that. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. Or Henry Cejudo versus Dvalishvili that's a fucking banger, boys. That's a banger. Who you got in that fight? Henry Cejudo or Merab? Why do they keep giving Merab all of these fucking beasts, man? Just give Merab the title shot already. Jesus Christ. You know, it's just written in the stars that Merab's going to get knocked out, you know, and then just never fight for the title. You know, like how happened to Tony Ferguson. He just never fought for the title. Or Benil Dariush, one of them ones. Anyway, what else we got? So anyway, guys, I'm doing this whole fucking rant, yeah, to say that it's very hard to defend the title. Doesn't mean that he can't defend the title here. Of course he can defend the title. But, Amir Albazi versus Moreno. Yeah, Moreno should have that one. I'm just saying it's very hard, right? And there's many reasons for that. And one of the reasons I wanted to mention is because once you've won the title, your dreams have come true. The motivation isn't the same. But guess what? That young, hungry lion coming up against you, Brandon Royval, his motivation is at an all-time high. You can't get more motivation than winning the belt. Your motivation for defending a title can't be higher than winning it. It's impossible, physically impossible, right? Unless you've brainwashed yourself into believing that winning the title means nothing and only defending it does. Something like that. Yeah, technically it's possible, but for argument's sake, boys, let's not take the minority. Let's speak about the majority, right? There's no point in speaking about the 1%. There's no point in speaking about the exception to the rule, right? Because it's just silly. So, your motivation to win the belt can never be higher, right, for the most part, than defending the belt. But, so what happens is when you win the belt, your motivation drops off, just ever so slightly. But the guy fighting for the belt, his motivation is at an all-time high because he hasn't won the belt yet, so he hasn't dipped off. So you got one guy who has motivation all-time high, and you got one fighter who's dipped off. That slight adjustment at the highest upper echelons of any sport can make a dramatic difference. These fights are only won on 1-2% margins, guys. We're going to speak about Leon Edwards in a minute. Look at Leon Edwards' last fight. That fight was won on a 1% margin against Kamaru Usman. It was a very close fight. Look at Alejandro Pantoja's last fight. That fight was also won on a 1% margin against Brandon Moreno. Let's look at Brandon Royval's fight against Pantoja. That fight was won on a 1% margin where he just got the back and quickly submitted him. He was getting worked. So, you know, what I'm saying is that these minuscule changes, these intangibles, these things that you don't think about. We can talk about Alejandro Pantoja having great jiu-jitsu. We can speak about Brandon Royval having amazing pace, having very dangerous upside early. We can speak about all that, right? But things that are not often spoke about, which I don't think I've spoken about enough, that's why I've gone in-depth on it today. I don't want to just gloss over it and mention it once. Something that isn't spoken about enough is these type of things, right? The intangibles. They're very important in MMA. So, yeah, man, done. Very great fight, man. Very looking forward to see it. If I lose on Brandon Royval, I won't be too upset because I really, really like Alejandro Pantoja. I just feel like on a meta scale, in the grand scheme of things, I feel like taking an underdog in this spot is a nice place to be. Win or lose, I genuinely believe that. There's some bets where after the fight, I'm pissed off that I made the bet. Maybe if he gets submitted, easily, I'll be upset because maybe it was written in the stars. The guy just can't defend a submission from Pantoja like we saw in the first fight. But even then, I don't know. Like on the meta scale, I think it's going to be very hard for me to be upset at a bet on Brandon Royval in his first ever title shot against Pantoja, a fighter that I believe he was doing very well against prior to the submission. But man, good luck. This is fucking a great fight. Banger fight. Honestly, my favorite fight on the card. It really is. Flyweight is my favorite fight of all time. Sorry, flyweight is my favorite weight class of all time. And I'm very happy for this one. I'm very excited for this one. All right, boys, we come to the end of the podcast, man. It's been a long one. I feel like I've been here for hours. I have been here for hours. And we're going to get straight into the main event in a minute. All right. What we got? This win the belt versus keep the belt shit makes no sense unless you're trying to say that having a belt doesn't impact chances and that markets overvalue being the champ. What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. Markets definitely overvalue being the champ, first of all. And then, second of all, I just went in depth and I told you why it makes sense. So, yeah, but maybe I'm not understanding your question. Murad the Machine, yeah, that's going to be a good fight, bro. Like, I'm proper buzzing for that fight. I'm like 5'5" and weigh 205. I'm the height of Cejudo, but got fighting Alex Pereira. Bro, that's crazy, bro. You need to get a nutritionist, bro. Get on the weight cut, bro. Get down so you can be a flyweight, mate. Nimble, jumping about. You don't want to be fighting Alex Pereira at 5'5", bro. Could you explain the differences between the two options in your subscription plan? Yeah, so I got two options. I got the standard monthly plan, which means you get most of my sports betting training courses, which, this is not just picks I give out. I give lots of stuff out. You get sports betting training courses. There is a couple of training courses that you don't get in that plan, like the high-level courses, which are how to keep yourself from getting limited by the bookies. I've got videos on that. That's for the upper echelon plan. But you still get lots of training courses on there, like how to have a winner's mindset, how to keep your emotions in check, and then very basic stuff like how to bet, what bookie to use, like all of that stuff, the best books to use for MMA, like all of that stuff. And that's for the standard plan. You also get all of my bets for UFC. You also get all of my bets for Bellator. And you get all of my bets for PFL. That's what's included in the standard plan. Then you could get the elite plan, which is a lot better. You get a lot more content. You get all of the sports betting training courses, plus any new courses I add to the website that are at the upper echelon, which is like training courses, all of the stuff I mentioned. And like I said, not getting limited by the bookies, how to avoid being banned, how to have your account be known as square versus sharp, all of those training courses. You also get the same, like all of my bets for Bellator, all of my bets for the UFC, all of my bets for PFL. Then you also get all of my bets for the regional scene, which we do really well in. So all of my bets for Cage Warriors, my bets for KSW, my bets for LFA, my bets for the Contender Series. We gave them out to that's for the Elite Zone. And any other Rising. I'm forgetting lots of other organizations we bet on as well. Octagon, ONE FC. So you get all of my bets for all of those regional scene organizations. Then you also get all of the bets that I haven't made yet, but I'm looking at. I call them current betting leans, but I mean, I don't really like that word because like it's used by fraud gamblers to like say that they've won when they haven't. So, but I didn't know what else to call it. But basically, every week there's lots of bets that I may be betting, but I haven't bet yet. I write all of them down so you can see where my head's at. You also get full card breakdowns on the Elite Zone. You don't get that in a standard, which is like you get like a paragraph with all of the information for every single fight on the card for the UFC, every single fight on the UFC, for every UFC event all year, every single fight on Bellator, for every Bellator event of the year, every single fight on PFL, for every single PFL event of the year, even if we don't have bets on the fight. So maybe I'll have bets on 3 fights out of 15, but you get full card breakdowns and full fight breakdowns for every single fight for Bellator, PFL, and UFC. And as far as I'm aware, that's not available anywhere else on the internet. You cannot get full card breakdowns for Bellator and PFL and the UFC. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. So I'm the only place on the entire internet that offers that. On top of that, we also got the degenerate parlays where we've been absolutely smashing this year. And I'm going to make it quick now because we've got a lot more content, but I don't want to keep going on about this. Yeah, I also give out my long shot prop bet section where I give out all the prop bets. And I also tell you the best prop bets of the week, my favorites. Sometimes I have 10 prop bets, but certain ones are my favorite. That's another section. And then on top of that, we also have, which is probably the best performing section out of them all, which is kind of crazy, is the weekend parlay pieces. So the best parlay pieces from every organization, every weekend, I put on there. And typically we hit at like an 80, 90% rate. I know it sounds crazy, but we genuinely hit like 8 to 90%. It's like 85% or something like that. So that's what you get on the Elite Zone. So that's done. That's why I said earlier when the guy mentioned like the service. Man, my service is uncomparable to any other service in the world, man. It's not even close. What else we got? We got Cannabis Connoisseur saying, MMA Betting Mastermind be hating on you on a daily. Shout out, bro. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. I don't think he's hating, bro. I don't think he's hating. What's he been saying? Anyway, I'll look over that in a minute. I don't want to go on any longer. Right, Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. The main event of the evening, boys. We made it, man. It's been good fun. It's been good fun. And yeah, I can't wait for this one, honestly. Because it's a weird one, guys. When this fight was first not announced, but when this fight was first spoke of, and this was years ago, so many, many years prior to them actually fighting today or this weekend, this fight was spoken about because obviously Colby calls everybody out. But the reason they didn't fight is because Colby was gunning for Usman. Edwards was gunning for Usman. But now finally Usman's out of the picture. Colby Covington and Leon is fought. Now are fighting. Now, I always thought that Colby was the side and Colby would win this fight. But from what I've seen of Leon Edwards in his last fight, and now the age of Colby Covington is getting higher and higher, I'm not so confident in Colby Covington. I don't really know how to look at this one, guys. So I have 2 people that I respect very greatly and who I work with. I speak to them every day almost about gambling. I've mentioned them many times on this, on my streams and on my channel. They're both heavy on Leon Edwards, right? So that makes me pause a little bit because I'm not very confident in this fight overall. But obviously, if 2 of my guys who I respect are very confident, then maybe I'm just not seeing something that they are, right? And I always say, guys, like, yes, I'm a good gambler. Yes, I do this for a living. Yes, I make a lot of money, but if I don't have a good read on something and someone else who maybe you don't think is a great, as good as gambler as me, right? Maybe you think other people are better than me. Maybe you think someone not as good as me. It's fine. It's normal. It's the way the world works. If they have a very strong read, but they're maybe not as good as gambler as me, sometimes it's just better to listen to them, man. I don't really have a strong read on this one. Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. I really want to give you a good breakdown, but I don't have a good breakdown. So on the one hand, I think that Colby Covington can get takedowns here. Obviously, he gets takedowns at all gets takedowns consistently, but if he's stuck on the feet, Leon's gonna like tee off on him. Leon's just gonna leg kick him, and I just don't know how Colby Covington's gonna look coming back from where it is. I will say though that if the line keeps moving the way it is, I might have to play Colby Covington here because I just don't really see. I don't really see Leon Edwards as being a minus 200 favorite, and I think he's about minus 160 now, and the line is moving. And it's funny because like I've seen a lot of people on Colby Covington, a lot of people saying Colby at dog odds is amazing bet. But Leon Edwards keeps on growing, right? Leon Edwards' favorite line keeps on growing. So that means there's probably some respected money on Leon Edwards. And I know there definitely is because there's two guys who I respect who are on Leon Edwards. So the market and the narrative around the market and the people in the know are saying that Leon Edwards is the side here, right? The sharp people are saying that Leon Edwards is the side. And I ain't talking about sharp people on Twitter, right? Or on YouTube. I'm talking about the sharp people in the shadows. The people who don't have Instagram, who don't have YouTube, who are working in the shadows and making a lot of money off MMA betting. And I know some of them. Those people are on Leon Edwards here. And that, I think, says something. Oftentimes, I go against the market, guys. Oftentimes, I go against the market. This probably won't be one of them, just because of the overall dynamic. I will say, though, that betting lines are betting lines. And yes, Leon Edwards does have some finishing upside here. Colby does get cracked a little bit. He is getting older. He did have his teeth knocked out by George Masvidal on the street. So, I mean, it's still damage. It's funny because like people will see him in a fight and say, look how much damage he took. But people won't mention the George Masvidal street fight where apparently he got his teeth knocked out. Teeth knocked out, it sounds like damage to me. So I will say, but I do want to end this fight by saying that lines are lines. And I do think at least up until a finish, if it happens, the fight's going to be close. So if the fight is getting extended, I do think that Colby Covington at underdog odds is probably going to become the side. Now, if the line keeps on growing, I am going to get a bit scared because obviously I believe that sharp money is coming in off from Leon Edwards. But I will take a stand at some point. I think if Leon Edwards gets out, if I can get Colby Covington at plus 170 or around that, maybe it turns to plus 160. Then I will bet Colby Covington here because I don't see this fight being uncompetitive. I see this fight being very competitive, at least up until a finish if there is one. So I'll wait and see where the line goes, and maybe I'll take a position on Colby. I'm not going to be laying the money on Leon Edwards at this line. I'm not going to be playing Leon Edwards. I'll tell you that now. So it's a dog or pass, in my opinion. But I think it's a close fight. I think Leon Edwards has significant advantages in some. No, not significant, because the fight's always going to be competitive, in my opinion. But I think that Leon has some notable advantages in some key areas that may lead to him, edging the fight. But Colby can also take this, man. So, yeah, that's my whole breakdown. It's dog or pass for me. I may look for a Colby bet. But I'm not passionate, guys. I'm not passionate about the fight. Bang! We did it, boys. That was a long-ass one, but it's the last one of the year. And by the way, boys, don't worry so much. Like, you already know I'm going to be here before the end of the year. You already know I got some shit cooking. You already know I got some stuff planned as to where, you ain't going to have to wait 3-4 weeks to see me back on your YouTube again. We're going to do some cool stuff. I'm actually going to be probably live streaming my 2023 betting review, but not just a boring casual betting review. What I do every single year and what I encourage every other gambler to do is very important, guys. Don't just think this is a boring task and you shouldn't do it. What I encourage every gambler to do is go back and look at their results from the year. Find out what they did right, find out what they did wrong, and see where you can improve. I've already started to do that. I'm almost done with that. And once I finish that, I'm going to go live on YouTube, just like I am now. And I'm going to break down the mistakes I made this year. This is going to be very valuable information for anyone because I know I'm the one making mistakes, not you. But you can learn from my mistakes. If you learn from my mistakes, that means you don't even have to make the mistakes and learn them yourself. So it's going to be very valuable information, especially coming from someone like me who's been doing this for years and years. And I'm going to go through all of the mistakes I made, all of the good things I did, and what I'm changing for the new year. I'm going to be very transparent for the most part, unless there's certain things I don't want the market to know. For the most part, I'm going to be very transparent, and you're going to learn a lot from that. So definitely stay tuned for the YouTube. I've got a lot of content in store. I may even do watch-alongs for some of these regional shows. And by the way, this is the best card of the year to sign up with me, in my opinion. I mean, I'm seeing this card perfectly. I'm very confident, like I've said. So if you want to sign up with me, sign up with a real service, a legit service, the best service in the world for MMA betting, in my opinion. Go to lucrativemmabetting.com and you can see all of the packages on there. You don't have to sign up. You can just read through the information, see the packages, and I actually have a lot of free information on that website in that video anyway. So yeah, man, hopefully you sign up with me in cash. If not, hopefully you've enjoyed the live stream. 2 hours of free content. Shout out to everyone, man. I appreciate everyone. So let me go back and see some of the comments. I'm not going to get involved in any of that negativity, but it is good, man. It is what it is, man. I don't focus on other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't focus on other people in the industry. I don't give a shit, bro. I'm on a rocket ship to Mars. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my own thing. I can't be giving a shit about other people. Cannabis Connoisseur is saying, James, the best sports better on the planet, bro, has made me so much money. Brother, I appreciate that a lot. You also believe that Leon's going to head kick TKO. Man, I honestly think he's got a chance of doing that. I mean, I know we see it once before. Maybe it's a boring or an easy prediction, but I don't know, man. Rocky does such a good job at picking his shots. Yes, very well. I think he can win a decision like that. Yeah, I mean, if the fight stays on the feet, he's going to win the decision. I'm in no disbelief that he's going to do that. I do think he's going to do that. But is it going to stay on the feet? Trump has already backhanded some dollars to some fixers to make sure Leon's unwell on the day. Yeah, I think Clint from Die Hard MMA podcast saying that Trump's going to be in attendance. So, yeah. Leon's going to get bullied. Colby has better chain wrestling, better technique than Usman. Usman did the same things 20 times in the last fight. Maybe, man. This is the only fight I let Trump break it down. What else we got? Leon by unanimous decision. Yeah, so it seems a lot of people are going back and forth on this one. Do I think Leon Colby will go the distance? I do think it will go the distance. I do think it will. But I don't think I'll be betting it because it's probably going to be like even money. If any, it'll probably be like 150 to go the distance or something. That's what I'm predicting. I don't know. I've never checked. Let's check live on stream right now. I've literally never checked. I'd say goes the distance is minus 145, minus 150. Goes the distance is minus 190. Yeah, Jesus, that's not good at all, man. That's not good at all. Definitely won't be betting that one. Leon's lack of volume will be the difference. You think he needs knockdowns? Yeah, so see, there's a lot of people going back and forth on this. It's going to be interesting, man. Cheers, James. Cheers, brother. I appreciate that. Colby Covington is the strongest, most athletic guy in the history of athletic humans. Been watching Feely fights on mute during the podcast. Chin always exposed. Yeah. Exactly. All right, I'm done, guys. I'm off now. Good stuff, James. Love hearing your in-depth opinions and reads on fights. Always learning, listening to you talk about the betting game. Cheers. Appreciate you, brother. Done, man. Good luck on your bets this weekend, guys. Let's smash it. Bang.